The following program is sponsored by the Today's Home Remodeler television network.
Well, Craig, beautiful day out here. I'm so excited to be shooting a new show with Kittleson Landscape. And let's begin by explaining where we're at.
We are at Vortex Optics in Barneveld, Wisconsin. And we've spent probably the last 5 years here doing different projects, and we've got a big campus that we're working on.
Boy, big campus is an understatement. This is amazing, a real hidden gem. You don't really see it from Highway 151 when you drive by, but I tell you, the residents of this area of Wisconsin are fortunate to have this company here. And for those who don't know, Vortex is a world-class optics company in the hunting and outdoor arena. So this is their main entryway. And obviously you want to make a wow factor when somebody pulls in, and you guys definitely did that. Now, you said that you have been working on this facility, and when we say working on it, you were in charge of the landscape design?
Yeah, we actually met with the owners of Vortex and the builder a year before this project actually started and worked on a lot of the design. So we had a lot of the concept done before the building was even constructed. And then we actually finished the design as the building went up. We had a lot of input from the owners on plant selection. They had certain natives they wanted to have. They have a nice prairie to the back of me. They wanted to try to make this project fit within this property.
Boy, they did a wonderful job. I mean, I love to see the owner of a company blending their building into the native environment, and they did a beautiful job. And when I say they did, with your assistance, that's for sure. Now, when you get back to that, you said you started before the buildings were even built. I mean, is that pretty typical, or is that beneficial to you?
You know, on many projects it is more beneficial to plan ahead. We did things to save them money by asking for some requirements as the place was getting built. So it is really good to plan ahead on any project, if it's a small one or a large one like this.
Sure, and being a large one, I gotta believe that not only did you have to work closely with the owners of Vortex, but you had to work closely with the general contractor as well.
Yes, he's been great to work with, and that's Hoff Construction. They've done this whole campus here, all the different buildings.
Is it fair to say that your relationships have really turned into partnerships on a project like this?
For sure. You know, we have a lot of questions asked of us now when these buildings are getting built from the general contractor. Would you like this to happen, or would you like that to happen, and why? So we've worked together. Like you said, a partnership is a really good example.
Well, the best way to understand what you're saying is to see the beautiful end result, and I know you have a couple people we're going to catch up with on today's show.
Stu, I'd like you to meet up with Chad Hoff. He's the general contractor, and he can kind of show you some specific projects that we work together on to coordinate and make things run smoothly for the build.
Okay.
As well as I'd like you to meet Tim today. He's the supervisor for all the campus and all the maintenance. He's the one that makes this place look the way it does and make sure that this thing can stay as a low maintenance as possible.
Well, I can't wait to meet these gentlemen. I'll catch up with you a little later in today's show.
Sounds good, Stu. We'll see you a little later.
Well, Chad, thanks for coming on today's Home Remodeler. And as I mentioned to Craig, what a beautiful campus out here. And this is a perfect location out around back to have you explain the challenges of blending a campus like this, all these different buildings, into the native environment and doing such a wonderful job.
Right. There's a lot of work that goes up front when you take on a project like this to get the grades to work out. There's a happy medium. There's a happy medium by having driveways too steep, so you kind of sometimes work with that to make sure the driveways get to the right grade, and then to balance the lot. To put it in perspective, that corner of that parking lot out there has got about 40 feet of fill in it.
40 feet?
40 feet of fill.
Holy smokes.
And you can see by that look of that retaining wall, we took off about 15 or 20 feet on this end and pushed that way, and then we had a large borrow pit down on the far corner that we were able to get rock and soil from. So, like I said, the challenge is to coming up with a number and making it all balanced so that you can use what's on site.
Sure, and use what's on site, what it's all about. And being here in the driftless area in southwest Wisconsin, it's a lot of rock. There's not a whole lot of topsoil here, right?
There isn't. There's areas here where there was 6 inches of topsoil, and then you hit the rock. And when I say rock, it's hard rock.
And so when you say there's 40 feet of fill in the backside, did you guys have to use dynamite and blast here to use everything?
We have a very good earthwork company out of Cobb, the Pastinas. They came in here and they bring their big bulldozers and they rip and tear, and then they bring in the blasters and we start blasting. We blasted for 31 days continuous, not including the weekends, of course, but 31 days we blasted out here.
Wow, that's amazing. But it's also pretty cool because then you weren't hauling in outside material. You were able to use all the material from on site?
Everything was used from right here on site. We were able to use everything on site. In fact, the retaining wall blocks that you see right behind us, they came from Crest Supply, and they're literally on the other side of that ravine over here.
Wow, so when you talk about building local, this really is building local.
This is building local.
Okay, well, let's kind of step back and just look. What exactly are we looking at? What are all these different buildings?
So the main building is right up here, and that's 280,000 square feet. And then we're looking at, we call it Building D. It's a maintenance overflow storage. That's 30,000 square feet. And then, of course, you got the range, the indoor range down there that they house 100, a 50, and a 25 indoor range. And then, of course, behind us, we have the new 150,000 square foot warehouse.
It's amazing, that's for sure. And you know, the most amazing thing, and I mentioned it to Craig, when I pulled in, I looked at the design and the design of the main building and the landscape. And is it fair to say that the building design really blends into the landscape and the surrounding area as much as the landscape design blends into the building?
Yeah, I agree. You almost have to out here. Like I said, there's so many ups and downs and everything's so natural out here. It's very important that you use natural products, just like concrete. Concrete's a very natural product, so it looks natural. It's the white cement, sandblasted finish. That is important that the landscape combines with it, is not separate from it.
You know, I can hear in your voice a sense of pride of working on a project like this. I mean, do you feel good about this?
Oh yeah, this is a big one. This is a real feather in our hat right here. It's a great company to work for. They treat us very, very well, and hopefully we reflect that back to them.
Sure, and Craig also touched on the partnerships and how important they were, not only between the owners and him, but I'm sure the owners and you, and then you and Kittleson. I mean, it's really a three-legged stool there. And did you learn a lot working on a project like this?
Yeah, so we have a little thing that we have, and it's called Team Tilty. Team Tilty is kind of our mascot, and it's a tilt-up panel, and one of my kids kind of came up with it at a birthday party, and
cool.
And now it's become a philosophy of ours. You become a member of Team Tilty. So if you're a subcontractor and you're not a team player, you probably won't be working for us, with us. Kittleson is one of those team players.
Wow, wonderful. And the results speak for themselves.
Oh yeah.
Really appreciate you coming on, taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to share your experiences working out here at Vortex. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And now, here's another energy-saving idea with Rockweiler Insulation. Oh, Brian, beautiful house. It must be about 60 years old?
Right around there, 50 to 60 years old, Stu.
And I see your crew's busy at work here. What are they up to?
So today we're down here in the basement, and we're actually air sealing and spray foaming the box seal area.
Okay, so you're actually spray foaming it. I know traditionally speaking, most of the time you would see fiberglass batting cut to size and stuffed in there.
That's usually what you do see up there, Stu. That's the standard as far as codes go. You would see a fiberglass, yellow, pink, whatever color bat stuffed in there. The problem with that is the fiberglass bat does not stop the airflow, so you can still have quite a bit of air infiltration, heat loss, and stuff like that.
Really, so it does a good job of filtering any air coming into the home, but what we as homeowners really want is to seal that area, and that's what the foam does?
That's right. Once we get that spray foam sealed up on that back plate and then come back over the actual sill plate itself and the foundation, we get a good air seal there. That way no air is coming in or heat going out.
And along the lines of energy efficiency, the homeowners are going to probably experience increased indoor air comfort?
Yes, you're going to definitely have much better comfort from sealing that off because you don't have that constant exchange of inside-outside air. The other thing they're going to get, Stuart, besides the energy efficiency and the air sealing, they're going to stop those pest critters, those bugs from getting in all those nooks and crannies because they're now sealed.
Sure, and as I recall from past shows that we've done, the rim joist all the way around here where the box sills are, that's probably the biggest area of heat loss in existing homes.
Well, it's where the house starts to get built, Stuart, so everything goes up from this point and gets built. So yeah, it's one of the leakiest points in the house.
So whether I have a house that's 60, 70, 80 years old or brand new, I should really consider spray foaming the box sills?
Absolutely, Stuart. It's a very good investment.
Okay, so what can I expect as a homeowner when I contact your company and they come out to do this?
So first, like anything else, we send the estimator out, they evaluate it. Then when our crew shows up, the first thing they'll do is they'll come down, they'll actually remove that old insulation from there, bag it up, and then we come through with a shop vac to make sure any loose debris is removed so the foam has a good adhesion to the back base there. After that, they go ahead and install anywhere about 2 to 3 inches on average of spray foam in there. It's sealed up. A couple hours later, the house is back to the homeowner, nice and energy efficient.
So fair to say that in most cases you're in and out in a day?
Yes, most of them are about 5 to 6 hours easily.
For more information on this and other energy-saving ideas, be sure to check out the full video library at rockweileninsulation.com.
Well, Tim, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy maintenance schedule to come on today's show, and we wanted to catch up with you to learn more about how this magnificent Vortex campus is maintained. But before we do, tell us a little bit about yourself and what your role is here and how long you've been with Vortex.
Well, Stu, welcome to Vortex Optics. We're glad you're here. My role here at Vortex is I'm the Director of Facilities. I have a fantastic staff that takes care of the buildings inside and out. So that's our role here.
Okay, and you've been here for how long?
A little over 2 years.
Yeah, and so you like working out here? What a beautiful environment.
What's not to like? You work in this kind of environment every day. It's hard to go inside the buildings.
Yeah, well, that's just from a design standpoint, yet alone on beautiful summer days like this. I see what you're saying. And shifting to the design itself, I mean, this is beautiful. I mean, this isn't even the main entranceway. This is just a side door. And look at how beautiful all the plants are. Some of them native, some of them just add color, but what a great job the design did from that aspect. But we want to learn more about the maintenance. I mean, to me, I look at this and I go, there's got to be a lot of maintenance on that.
Well, with any plantings, there's maintenance that go along with it. We brought in the natural prairie plants, and with a prairie, there's some maintenance in the beginning, but once it gets established, it kind of crowds all the weeds out. So the weeding goes down as the bigger the prairie gets or the older the prairie gets. So, and the rest of the plants, Craig's team chose with help from the Hamiltons that they are easy to maintain, they look nice, they have some eye pop for the people that come and visit.
Sure, well, it makes sense. Well, another big aspect of the design is this lawn, and I have to hand it to you. This is the nicest lawn I've ever seen, I've ever walked on. I know myself included, along with a lot of viewers, I'm sure, would love to have this in their front yard.
Yeah, we have an irrigation system that takes care of watering the turf grass on a daily basis. We use some chemicals to keep the weeds out of it, and we mow it regularly to keep those weeds out.
Yeah, well, this lawn has been established. It's been here 5-6 years. I know Kittleson, when we were here about 6 weeks ago, they were doing somewhere out around back. And it wasn't just throwing down seed and hoping for the best. I mean, they were using some pretty interesting products there.
Yeah, so husk excavators do a nice job of doing the rough grading, and then Craig's group comes in and does the final grading. They get it down to a very flat surface. Then they use their seed and fertilizer, and they use the EMAT to keep the moisture in. It gives the grass seed a good chance of establishing.
And that EMAT is probably one of the biggest keys because moisture. I mean, we're in an arid area here, southwest Wisconsin. There's not a lot of topsoil, and so you add some, but it's still, that water likes to get sucked out or evaporated off. So moisture is the key when you're starting with a lawn?
Yeah, you have to keep it not really wet, but moist, just to give it a little moisture to get established.
How often do you have to mow this?
We mow once a week.
Really, it just looks so beautiful. And you know, another area of a landscape design that people don't often think about are the sidewalks, the parking lot, you know, the entry areas, of course, but I mean, the hardscapes themselves play an integral role, don't they?
Yeah, they do. We designed with Craig and Chad the width and the design of the sidewalks so that our snow removal equipment will work on them and only do one pass versus multiple passes.
And when you talk about a landscape design, it's a year-round process, right? And when
That's
you're talking
correct.
about maintenance?
Yep. In the fall, we take care of all the trimming that needs to get done. In the spring, we cut back all the grasses and the prairie plants that need to be done. So there is a lot of maintenance in this beginning and the end of the years, but you know what it looks like now during the summer is great.
Sure. Well, you know, not unlike what Craig talked about, what Chad talked about, and you're talking about now. It seems like this partnership is really key to the success of this project. I mean, and when I talk about partnership, again, it's Vortex and Kittleson, Vortex and Hoff and Kittleson.
Yeah, we have a saying here, a care experience, which is create a rare experience. We like to do that with our subcontractors and the people we work with. We like to treat them like family. If we have ideas that, you know, might be a little off the wall, we bounce it off them and they can either tell us it's a great idea or it's not. Or if we have an issue, I can call them up and say, hey, what do you think about this? And we get it corrected right away.
Well, what a great place to work and a great place to visit. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and coming on today's show.
Thanks, Stu.
Here's this week's plumbing tip. Well, Luke, on today's Plumbing 101 tip, what we're tackling is a leaking faucet. And I know a lot of people minimize how much water is wasted when a faucet is dripping like this, but it can be hundreds of gallons over a few weeks.
Right. It's important, in my opinion, to call a professional because there's so many manufacturers out there and different parts, and some of the manufacturers change their parts frequently. So if you call a professional that has a well-stocked truck with the majority of the main manufacturers out there, they'll be able to take care of it.
Sure, and my experience also has told me that these cartridges right here, there's like a million different faucets, there's a million different cartridges. They don't all fit, they're not universal.
Right, you need to specifically go with the manufacturer's part to that brand of faucet. Back 30 years ago or so, there was faucets where we used to have like washers and little parts that you have to change out the washer on the end of a stem and stuff like that, but nobody really uses that much anymore.
So if I have a leaking faucet, chances are it's not just going to be a simple fix. I'm going to need a specific cartridge for my specific faucet.
Correct.
Now, what typically causes a cartridge to go bad?
Water conditioning. Age, usage is a little bit, but a functioning water softener in this part of the state is crucial. The water softener is going to benefit any of your faucets, your toilets, your fixtures, your water heaters, your dishwashers, anything with small little orifices or rubber material. That softener keeps it pliable, which keeps the water sealed and keeps the minerals out from plugging up the all little orifices that would cause a drip.
Sure, and the key to that is not only having a softener, but keeping it full of salt.
Correct.
Yeah, and you know, when you think about how much fixtures cost and how much you invest in them,
Right.
You should be concerned about the longevity. And you're saying the simplest way to add to the longevity of whether it's here in a bathroom or in a kitchen, just have a properly functioning water softener.
That's the biggie.
For your next plumbing repair, visit MadisonAreaPlumbers.com. Professionally trained by Plumbers Local 75.
Well, Kirk, great to have you back on today's Home Remodeler. You know, earlier in the show we were out at Vortex. That's more of a commercial project. This residential setting is really more Kittleson Landscape's bread and butter. And let's wrap up today's show explaining what you've done on this beautiful location.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a little bigger than average, obviously, you know, projects that we do. But we have a lot of different aspects of landscaping, from hardscape, softscape, all different types of things.
And talking to Craig, he was like, I want Kirk to take you through this one because it is beautiful how you blend it into the environment, not unlike Vortex.
Yeah, exactly. We did everything, you know, using grades and everything else, you know, with the hardscapes, incorporating staircases, walls, and everything into it. And obviously a pool that's getting covered right now, being late in the year, incorporated all those aspects of it.
Sure, and now how long ago did you complete this project?
a couple months ago. So we still have some things in the spring where we'll come back, do some cleaning, possibly sealing. It's a color-less product, but it's totally up to the homeowner if they want to add a little bit more,
Vibrancy to
vibrance to it, yeah.
Sure. Well, the best way to look at a design like this is to walk through it. So why don't we go down and take a look at what you were dealing with?
Sounds good.
Oh man, when you get down here, you get a real appreciation for the relief that you were dealing with. And I guess that's how I'd like to begin is how can you help the homeowner visualize the end result before it even starts?
Yeah, it's hard because being landscapers, we can kind of visualize what it's going to be. So we get a designer involved, like Scott Gear Landscape and Design. So we have him put together some kind of concept. We talk over what we want to do, and then he can put something together to show the homeowner.
Because what was here when you first showed up?
Basically, this was a big hole. So we basically had to get from point A to point B, building up compaction, backfilling with clear stone all the way up to the top.
You know, and looking at it, it's not that large of area, but it had to be incredibly challenging with all the radiuses and all the elevations.
Yeah, this is very complex as far as from getting here to there, measuring, and to get your 8-inch increment on this step to that top step. It's pretty amazing. Our guys did a great job.
And I like the way you integrated different products into it, some natural, some man-made, but the end result speaks for itself. And what are some of those products that you
Yeah,
selected?
This is a Rochester vintage product. We went more of the blue stone, so you're kind of getting away from the limestone of the foundation of the house, so it pops a little better. So with that, obviously we're backfilled with all clear stone, incorporated bark mulch, some plantings to soften everything, incorporated, stone for softscape, lighting, which we have all around the back of the area that looks beautiful at night.
Sure.
So we incorporated everything into it.
And those are natural stone steps?
Yeah, those are a natural 6-foot, 8-inch tall landing stone step.
And when I look at the elevation, I'm just in my mind going, there's so many calculations that you need to take into account. I mean, not only the height or the riser on a step, this is a natural product, but the depth, because you're dealing from point A to point B and everything has to be perfect so that you don't end up with a 12-inch riser at the end, which wouldn't meet code.
Yeah, it's anybody that's done this before, would be amazed. Our guys are amazing. It takes so much measuring, shooting the grades, and then as you go up incrementally, you just constantly have to keep checking.
And it's interesting, I get at this angle, blue stone, the blue siding on the house, it ties in just beautifully. And this is just one aspect of the landscape design. It's equally as impressive over here.
Yep. So obviously we incorporated everything around this pool down in this area. There's a sitting wall, which have clear stone behind it with drain tile to get all the water out of this area. And we've incorporated a lot of different, softscape above it, along with, natural flagstone just to soften, all the brick and block.
Boy, it looks really nice. Again, man-made products, natural products, all leading to a very comfortable outdoor living environment, not only for entertaining, but just to enjoy. And did you have anything to do with the background? Because it looks like a pond there with a fountain, and it sounds so peaceful when you come back here. And as I look over top, it looks very beautiful as well.
Yeah, so we basically take a retention pond for this development, add a fountain, add a nice patio sitting area with some lighting, and turns it into just a nice relaxing area.
Again, blending the natural environment with the new landscape design. It doesn't get better in my opinion. And one of my favorite aspects of a landscape design is when you take natural stone and create a raised planting bed like you did over here.
Yeah, exactly. And what we're trying to do is create somewhat of a backdrop behind the slide. There's a lot of open area. Try to incorporate that into the natural area.
Sure, and as I see, not only plants and the stone that you had at other areas of the design, but also the lighting. And I tell people, don't underestimate the importance of landscape lighting because it can really make it pop. And you think it's a wow factor during daylight hours. At night, with the right lighting, it's even more spectacular.
Yeah, it really helps out. Path lights obviously kind of direct you to where you need to go from this area down to the fire pit area. The wash lights will look really nice too once these grasses get bigger. With the wind and everything just shining on them, it creates a really neat area.
Sure, and you mentioned the fire pit area. That is pretty impressive. I like the way you tied the different elements of the landscape design into it.
Yeah, basically, like we've done on another project, pull from the house, the limestone, incorporating a gas fireplace, and then, we have our either a brick and our block around it for a sitting wall, and there's enough room they can incorporate cozy chairs or however they want to do it.
And you think about it, this is a large area, large entertaining capabilities for sure. You don't need a bunch of chairs down there. You can sit on that sitting wall, so to speak.
Oh, exactly. You bet.
Well, it's beautiful. And as you look back at the house from here, oh my gosh, you did such a great job of tying the landscape into the house, yet blending it well into the environment. You said early on, this is, pretty large scale landscape design, but a lot of what Kittleson Landscape does is more modest, I would say, yet very beautiful. Have you guys been busy with smaller designs as well?
Oh yeah, we've been very fortunate. A lot of really nice, even smaller patios, but just really neat new products. We've done a lot of softscape projects, along with lawns, and everybody asks all the time, you only do big stuff. We do everything from small all the way up to big.
Sure. Well, the Madison area is fortunate to have a company like you guys that have stood the test of time, not unlike the products that are incorporated into your designs. And if somebody's interested, they can always give you a call. Thanks a lot. I look forward to having you on another show.
You bet.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Today's Home Remodeler television network.